Hey everyone, this video here today gave me a lot of nostalgia when I first saw the thumbnail and title. Simply because I remember how dumb of a meme it was. Like the kind of one where it sounds made up until you look up the origin and find out that's real. If you don't know who this guy was from the My Strange Addiction show, then you missed out a lot on the story of the car fanatic, who everyone joked about making love through it. Because in this episode from the show, there were so many moments where he showed no embarrassment and wanted to fully convey the passionate romance between him and the piece of metal. Thankfully, we live in a world where showrunners like this go back to make update episodes where they catch up with people from previous ones. And I'm glad that he was one of them, because he was one of the most interesting people, and with a loving obsession as unique as his, it makes you wonder how long it will last. But if you're a supporter and advocate of him, then you'll probably be happy to see how it's going today.
My Strange Addiction sends my nostalgia through the roof. Running
Oh my god, don't get me started.
2015, they interviewed dozens of crazy individuals from around the world. From people who eat sand to people who are addicted to plastic surgery. My Strange Addiction has celebrated these people.
Please bring up that one lady who loved eating
So much
cement
media,
or
this channel
drywall.
included
I love her.
in its wake. There were many times where me and my buddies would sit back, crack open a cold one, and watch these episodes. It's an extremely iconic series that I'm sure many of you remember well. So when I heard that they were doing a reboot, and even
What?
visiting some of the
No way.
previous video subjects, words cannot describe to you how excited I was. And
If that's true, then 50% of those people in that show would be dead because of the dumb stuff they'd be eating, like
the
sand.
insanity that was covered
Unless
on
sand is
that
like the
show,
secret ingredient to like immortality, I doubt that lady on the bottom right is still
a man
kicking it.
named Nathaniel and his car, Chase. Today we are going to look at both the 10-year-old episode that introduced us to
I was
Nathaniel
hoping you'd say 10-year-old, as in that guy's just a kid.
episode that just recently came out a few months ago. It's a story of love, loss, and isolation. Today we are going to attempt to dive into the mind of an objectophile. The National Institute of Health
That sounds way more
describes
offensive than like any other file,
person who is
objectophile.
romantically or sexually involved with a specific object. They often develop deep and enduring emotional, romantic relations with a specific inanimate object, including, but not limited to, trains, bridges, cars,
Planes and
and
automobiles.
other works. In Nathaniel's case, it involved a strong attraction to cars. He first began to notice these kinds of feelings in himself when he would assemble model cars as a child, but also claims that things didn't
Boy, he just
really
broke
take
hard
it
when he was
off
making a
until he
toy
met his
car.
first love,
Goddamn.
Chase, a 1998 Chevrolet Monte Carlo that he met at a resale lot 15 years ago. As most objectophiles do,
I have nothing against that car, but it's funny how whenever guys get their first ever model, they fall in love with it no matter what.
Nathaniel
I can't imagine being like
assigned
going this
Chase a
far
gender. So
to the point of
Nathaniel refers to Chase as a male. When asked how he attributes gender to a car, he said it was the general appearance of them, saying some cars were naturally more feminine, as where others were more masculine. But giving his car a name and gender wasn't the only thing that Nathaniel was doing to them, because as
That
I'm
car looks
sure
way
many
more
of you
masculine and
know, this
feminine, so
relationship was very intimate. Us even being able to witness many of these things in the first episode of the TLC documentary. Nathaniel would go on to display a number of ways in which he and Chase got romantically involved, and this is where we get into one of the most interesting aspects of Nathaniel's condition to me. The assignment of body parts to inanimate objects. He
oh
would
my god. This is one of those shows where I feel really bad for the camera guy, because he had to stand there while a guy was just making off the car, and he's getting paid money. Like, he has kids, they're probably gonna go to college, make around the money every day shooting that show. I think being a camera guy for most shows suck, because you just have to stand there and like fully take in every awkward part, no matter how long it takes. But for this show, you have to just stand there and be quiet. Like, imagine like there must be one guy on shift that wanted to laugh really hard, or just like make fun of him, but he couldn't. Like, he had to like shut up and just hold the camera while they shot for like hours right there in his house, day after day.
would go on to explain that the car had body parts, like legs, eyes, ears, a face, even lips, which he had attributed to the crease in the hood of his car. Though Chase is now gone, which don't worry, we'll get into here in a little bit, Nathaniel still owns the hood of his car to this day.
He beat the shit
He would
of
also
Chase.
show us one of the favorite positions that him and his car had, wiggling himself almost completely underneath, with his head popped
That looks
out.
like a way too convenient, like Hitman 47 kill, which you shoot the tire and it rolls over him and kills him, and nobody would suspect that it was a
Giving
assassination.
it kisses. I want to make it very clear right now, I might throw around a couple of jokes, but I actually think Nathaniel's pretty cool. The amount of bravery it would take to come out about all these things to the world and still be a upstanding, productive member of society. Nathaniel
I bet you differ.
nobody with his actions, and just how much love he has for this car.
I will give it to him. The one good aspect of him is that he lives in a bump of nowhere. Like there were no houses in that shot, so as long as he lives by himself, miles away from any like gun store, I'm fine.
Meaningful romantic relationship. You cannot tell me that in this man's mind, he is not experiencing true love. He'll take his car on dates, he'll buy it special gas, he will spend thousands in maintenance for them. If you doubted for a second that he is not actually romantically involved with his car, look no further than him revealing it to his father on national TV. I don't know whose idea this was during episode 1. To be honest,
Probably
they did
his.
Nathaniel no favors, especially with their soundtrack. And if Nathaniel's dad wasn't so chill with it, it could have gone so much worse. Let me just pose a scenario to you guys. Your son calls you and tells you he's got to get something off his chest. You go to his place, and as usual, he's out front washing his car.
There's no way his dad had no idea about it. Like I like to imagine that he came in driving one day home from the store and he just saw him like in that one show where he was on his back in front of the car kissing it. Like surely he walked in seeing that. There's no way this is a
Be
surprise.
like, hey son, what's the matter? And he proceeds to tell you that he is romantically involved with his car, Chase. Not wanting to offend him, you don't immediately remove your hand from the hood, but slowly back off over the course of a few minutes.
Immediately back off and grab your shotgun in your bedroom.
His car are intimate. As someone who's about to be a father, this is absolute nightmare scenario stuff.
He's a
But
dad?
Nathaniel's dad didn't get angry, he wasn't disgusted. In fact, he didn't even react poorly at all. He simply asked if his son was happy and if he was maybe alright with seeing a therapist. He also asked if the divorce had anything to do with all of this. I'm not even joking. Seeing this positive exchange between father and son was kind of heartwarming. It went so well, in fact, that Nathaniel would even agree to do therapy, stating that he would do it as long as they wouldn't try to change who he was. He merely wanted to find out a name for his condition and possibly the root for it. The therapist would explain to us and Nathaniel that this condition could possibly be a defense mechanism, saying that objectophiles often struggle with human relationships, also saying that as time goes on, they will continue to get more and more isolated, both due to their love
Okay,
of
that's kind of sad. Like that's the one part that makes you feel bad whenever you make fun of these people, because there is like one deep mental cause that makes them like this. Like I can tell already from what he said about the divorce and where he lives that he probably doesn't have like a lot of like friends or human interaction. So when the only color in your home is that like bright red car, I can see I was about to say I can see why you would fall in love with it, but at the same time like I can't. Like it's really hard for me to try to like reason with this romance. But at the same time, your environment can only affect you so much. Like at one point, you just have to admit that you were born with this love, no matter how you were raised. Like something would pull you towards that, like Chevy Chase red car. So maybe either way, no matter like what therapy he did or like how he grew up, he would have always just like loved this model of car specifically.
Behind being the way that they are. When we left Nathaniel in the first video, he had no intentions of breaking it off with Chase, and he also claimed that he would continue to seek therapy. For the longest time, I really thought this would be the last we'd ever see of him, but patience is always rewarded, my friends. 10 years later, they returned.
I was about to say as a joke, 10 years later.
Subjects. They were also checking up on old ones. And when I saw Nathaniel's face in the trailer, I literally jumped for joy. I had wondered for so long what had happened.
He looks like Big Al. Oh, whatever the guy is that puts mayo in his hair.
Where was Chase? And just exactly what was Nathaniel up to? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the second episode featuring him would not disappoint. In my opinion, it's far superior to the first one. Starting off with what I consider to be one of the saddest moments in modern television history. Nathaniel, now 10 years older and 10 years wiser, had a new look, was living in a new state, and had a completely different life from when he was last covered. And it all began with a tragedy. 4 years ago, while Chase was undergoing routine maintenance, he was totaled in a shop accident. If I'm being completely honest...
This is probably the equivalent of seeing your son get decapitated on a gore video.
...has some broken glass and some dents. This would not stop Nathaniel from declaring him dead. And the way I'm talking makes it seem like it was no big deal to Nathaniel. He was, and still very much is, absolutely devastated, breaking down in tears, describing the ordeal to the camera, and even somewhat blaming himself for not getting Chase repaired. This story would be told from Chase's memorial room in Nathaniel's house. If you didn't believe that Nathaniel had attributed full human characteristics to these cars, look no further than the memorial room. He has a blanket
What a waste of a
with
room.
his favorite photos of him and Chase on it. He has photos hanging up on the wall, and in the spirit of Ed Gein, he even has the hood of the car still with him. As
I like to imagine like he got that bed cover specifically commissioned from Etsy, and the poor bastard that was given money, actually like hard-coded money to do it, was like, I don't care who this is for, as long as I'm getting paid, I'm not gonna ask any questions.
I've talked about before, Nathaniel has a favorite.
Just like the guy who got paid to do it was probably like, oh, this is a guy that just loves his car. Like he doesn't know how far that love goes.
Being onto that car hood, thinking of what could have been if he hadn't pulled the plug on Chase. I sympathize with Nathaniel here, because in my opinion, I think the hardest part of life is losing someone you love and continuing it without them. But it is also a testament to the human spirit that we endure and continue to push forward in their memory. And Nathaniel would do just that, by filling the void Chase left in his heart with a veritable harem of vehicles. Nathaniel is now romantically and intimately involved with 4 vehicles. Some of them don't even have...
Don't tell me that bolt on the right counts.
Let's start with the new love of Nathaniel's life, Lex. Now, I'm not a car guy, but I'm assuming Lex is a Lexus,
make it is.
a female Lexus, which I find particularly interesting, because Lex is the only female vehicle that Nathaniel has been involved with, to my knowledge. The 3 others...
So he is admitting he's the other guys on the side.
Okay. Male. When asked what he liked about Lex, Nathaniel would tell us that he liked the smoothness of her driving and the cushion of her seats. He mentions seats quite often in regards to these vehicles. Take what you will from that. He would also go on to describe how he met Lex. After the tragedy that was Chase's death, Nathaniel was lost in this world. That is, until one day he spotted the most beautiful Lexus across the street for sale. Considering that this Lexus had a few too many miles on her and was a little beat up, Nathaniel decided that he would take his shopping for a new spouse to the internet, where he would find Lex and instantly fall in love. Though
that's the one massive advantage to falling in love with a car. Like compared to like if you lost like a family member, you'd be heartbroken for years. With a car, you lose it, you see a new car, buy it, all that grief immediately gone. Also, I just want to say now, I'm not a car advisor, but I feel like with those 3 cars, like those 2 cars he had, he could have just like saved the money and buy one nice car. It's basically like having like one wife you love and then having like 3 crack holes who are just ugly, but at least you got more options. But I feel like having just one nice option would be the best one.
Belongs to Lex, with her getting special treatments, even the weekends being reserved for their time together. This car was also made in 2003, so don't worry, he ain't no sicko. Nathaniel claims that he likes Lex for her personality, cute cheeks.
I was thinking drink as well, that's good.
Despite all the love that Lex gives him, she still can't fill the hole left by Chase alone. As the episode moved forward, Nathaniel began to introduce us to more and more cars that he was intimately involved with. After meeting Lex, we would get the pleasure of meeting Jordan, a sedan. Nathaniel would walk around the car, gently stroking it, explaining his relationship with it to the camera, saying that though his heart belonged to Lex, him and Jordan had a friends with benefits kind of relationship. Apparently, this does not bother Lex because Jordan is a gentleman.
This is a fucking car, that's why.
Love of luxury sedans. After introducing us to Jordan, he would move on to the next car, Jet, a manly SUV. Though Jet lacked the gentlemanly qualities
That car is definitely the top in the relationship.
It was all about the variety. Because these days, he wasn't just into cars, he was also into jet skis. The final member of his vehicular harem would be a jet ski called Adam. Only Adam doesn't like being called a jet ski. He likes being called a personal
He has been called
I find it extremely
because he's a
ironic that he has
fucking jet ski, doesn't have a mind.
Adam and an SUV named Jet, especially since he uses Jet to pull Adam to the lake. Though Nathaniel didn't go too deep into Adam's personality, it was clear that he was the bad boy of the group. He said that he liked Adam in particular because
boys lose interest in jet skis by the age of 7?
He would then go on
Like,
to talk about
you
the
realize at
quality
one
of
point
the
that they're not
seats
that
that he had just
awesome.
had redone, further confirming my theory that the seat cushions are mainly what he's into. He spoke of Adam with a tinge of sorrow, stating that he felt bad Adam had remained in the driveway for so long, and that he should really take him out again soon. Not a bad way to end, but I find myself wondering, will this truly be the last time that we see him? 'Cause if it is, I would really have loved to see him ride off into the sunset on his jet ski. Today, Nathaniel is still involved with all of his vehicles, with his main squeeze being Lex. They seem to be very in love. He'll buy her ethanol-free gas, his version of a bouquet of flowers, and he also claims that he does not get jealous when mechanics work on her, as long as they are respectful. If I'm being
Oh no,
completely
dude, I would
honest,
shoot them
I
on the
couldn't
spot
have
right there and
asked
there.
for a better update on Nathaniel. Sure, it would have been nice if he would have been able to develop some meaningful relationships with human beings, but the man is happy, and he's not hurting anyone. He has the bravery to get in front of the nation, hell, the world, and proudly proclaim that he's in love with his cars. Nathan is one of these people you see on TV that you never truly forget. Sure, there have been other documented objectophiles, like the roller coaster girl, or the fence woman, but none of them managed to capture the attention that Nathaniel did. And I'm very thankful that we got another look at him 10 years later. I think it's going to do wonders for the understanding of objectophilia, and most definitely confirms some of the consequences of it. The therapist stated 10 years ago that this condition would make it nearly impossible to develop new meaningful relationships with human beings, and that in a way, the objects were meant to keep people away from you as a defense mechanism. Unlike
If that was true, he should have bought like some massive turret to keep right there with the cars as well.
The second. In the first episode, there was Nathaniel's father and his roommate, but now there is nobody, just his vehicles and him.
They were found dead in the back.
Story could be groundbreaking for discovering the cause of this condition, and if not, it already has been for the consequences. And that's all I have on Nathaniel from TLC today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said before, My Strange Addictions is a big inspiration behind this channel, and getting to finally make a video over this topic has been a pleasure.
God bless that show. That show is a godsend. I don't think there's any worse show that really ruins your reputation in the world than that show, because it just shows you like every mentally ill person that's never had intervention in their life that makes them say what they like is normal, which is until the showrunners come up to them and ask them to do an episode. But even then, they don't really try to make them better by telling them this isn't normal. They just like let them keep on doing it for the episode, and then once they're done shooting, they just leave, and they couldn't care less what they're doing later on in their life. Like if they keep on doing the same kind of stuff. Like this guy, he never really had a chance to like leave his like isolated like ranch that he lives in to meet other people. Like he probably works from home, I imagine. Like I don't know how he makes money to buy all those like free cars and that badass jet ski, but I imagine it has to be quite a lot. I mean, the only person I can imagine seeing him and his weird relationship, apart from on the show, is probably like the one guy at the gas station that always sees him like stroll on, be like, can I get the premium gas? It's for my really nice car back at DC, it's good. And he's just like, yeah, sure, you've ordered that like 5 times this week, sure man, whatever you want. In the future, there has to be a point in your life where you realize like how dumb this relationship of yours is, but at the same time I feel like that's still on the same level of happening as you just like staying the same way you are. I mean, 10 years, if he went from like, I mean, he seemed pretty young in the first episode back whenever that was like filmed, but 10 years now and he's still obsessed with cars as he was back then, that's probably a huge sign that he's never going to change. And he still has the same obsession with cars. That's probably like a big sign that he's not going to change at all, unless there's something like different in his life that will force him to have like new human interactions that will make him realize like, okay, I finally have new people that I can meet but also talk to, as opposed to just hearing the rumbling of a car. So I'm finally getting out of this weird mental state where I see cars as actual people because I know what they're actually like and I can finally talk to someone. But at the same time, there probably is a part of him that is scared to meet other people because, I mean, if you have a car, clearly that shows that you can go to like, the nearest town, just sit at the bar and, you know, just like make a friend. Like from where he lives, I can tell already he lives like in a kind of like urban place, not urban, like somewhere in Texas, I imagine, where he can just go to like a bar and just meet like anyone and they'll be down to just drink with him for like the entire night. Like it doesn't seem that hard to make a friend. And plus, 1 in 3 guys like love cars, so all you have to do is be like, do you want to see my cars? And even if they're not that impressive, they can probably just talk about them for hours. So they're really just like an easy avenue for him to make friends. So it really is just that simple. I feel like all you have to do is just take that one big step. It's that easy, guys, come on, believe me.